So if you was to ask most career mode players what their favourite element of every FC game is when they're in their own save, it would most likely be making transfers and building their dream squad. Transfers are the most exciting part of football in general, or at least one of them, and it's important that EA get this completely spot on in their games to maximise how fun they are to play. Now, transfers aren't terrible in the game, but there's so many things they could add into FC26 career mode that would enhance the transfer market and make building squads a lot more challenging and a lot more fun and rewarding when you do get to the point where you've built your dream team. So in this video, I'm going to go through a few things that I want to be added into the transfer and contract side of things in FC26. And also show you some concepts to back that up and how that could look in the game. So yeah, let's just go through each point. Now, my main bugbear with transfers and contracts in the game are that they just aren't realistic. Now, for me, there are ways of managing this and making it realistic for yourself. That will be something for another video. But EA, if they want to add things into the game that, in my opinion, wouldn't take that much effort to add them in, and things that would make things a lot more realistic and enhance the experience for their players, these are the suggestions that I have that could do that. So first of all, transfer values in FC25 and all the previous games are just completely all over the place. This is something I've already posted about on Twitter, and I'll put some comparisons on the screen right now. So older players are just overvalued in the game and younger players are undervalued. So you see a lot of people when they make their saves, straight away, regardless of what team they have, they'll just sign all the 85 plus potential players and build this ridiculous squad that the team that they're managing wouldn't have a prayer of doing in real life. Now, people can play the game how they want, but for me, it's just so easy to build a ridiculously good, young, up-and-coming team in the game. And meanwhile, if you have any old players at the club, it's so easy to sell them as well for a good price. So as you can see in this example, young players, they are just undervalued completely. It's way too easy to sign them. I'm not saying that Transfermarkt is the Bible of transfer values. I don't agree with everything that's on there, but they're a hell of a lot closer to what they are in FC25. So for me, EA need to create a new calculator for this, where players are closer to what their value would be in real life. So those young up-and-coming players with 90 potential, they should cost a lot of money, because that potential is what is going to make them attractive for teams to sign them for. And that 35-year-old whose stats are rapidly decreasing season after season is barely going to cost anything. So this needs to be altered in the game. And also with how much you sign a player for and how negotiating would go, there should be many factors that go into that as well. So for example, of course, stats and performance should alter what a player's overall is going to be and how they grow or decrease, and that will impact their transfer value. Their age, their potential, their overall should be calculated to get a better transfer value, as I've talked about. But also in terms of how much you buy a player for, I don't think there's enough impact on players who are running down their contract. Like if a player's got 6 months left, they're unhappy at a club, you should be able to sign them significantly cheaper than the other way around if they were on a 5-year deal. Also, the level of a team that you're buying a player from should also impact how much they cost. If you're signing a high potential 65 rated player from Man United, they should cost a lot more than signing that same player from a League One club, for example, in the EFL. All these things should factor in, like, player happy at the club? Are they looking to move themselves? Have they outgrown the club? Is their contract running down? All these things should be tied into the game. Also, like, real life transfer fees as well should probably be incorporated into the game. So for example, like a player who's just been signed for example 10 million in real life, you shouldn't be able to sign them for like less than that in the game. You know, these sort of things should be factored in my opinion. Moving on to contracts, I feel like, again, contracts are wrong in the game. They get the years right, but the wages are all over the place. I'm going to put some examples on screen. I talked about this a little bit in the database editor video and how we should be able to rectify these. But yeah, I'm not asking EA to leak the personal information like this about each player, but some contracts are pretty well known, and you can get in the correct ballpark with a little bit of research. Football Manager do it in all of their games. You know, there are websites that have a general idea of player wages and things. Those players in Saudi Arabia should be getting way more money, and they should be hard to sign if you're a European club, because you won't be able to match their wages, for example. But on the flip side, a lot of the teams in the lower leagues, their wages are a lot lower than what they are in real life. I find it so frustrating. I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, but in the Championship, when I sign a youth player up, they're on 10 grand a week straight away. What's that all about? All the players, they seem to be they've got contracts 10 grand a week more than what they would in real life, which again is a bizarre thing. So EA need to fix these little issues. So I'm going to show you now the transfer hub that I designed for FC26. It's a concept I've already posted on X, and while I'm not going to go through everything on there because there's a lot of things around stat tracking which I'll do in another video, this is just going to show you a few things I'd like before you've even made an offer for a player, like how that would look. So as you can see here, we've got Christopher Nkunku. Now on the left, you can see a list of players. You can see if they've been scouted currently, you've got a full scout report, or they've not been scouted at all. Now, one thing I'd like to see in the game, really simple feature, but when you're scouting, when a player's not fully scouted, to see like a range in which their overall is in the game. So currently you'll just see a question mark. You have no idea how good a player is. Why can't it at least range, depending on like how well known the player is? If you've got like an unknown 50 odd rated player that you're trying to scout, maybe it can be like a range of like 6 or 7, like this player is going to be between 50 and 57, and the longer that you scout the player, that range will narrow down until right at the end where you get all their stats completely. As you can see here, for these good players that are relatively well known, there's not much of a range here, but something like this, again, it's the simple stuff, right? Again, like you can see, there should be more competition for players, so there should be multiple clubs interested in every player, and you've got to compete with them to create the best offer. So if I want to sign a player, and I agree a fee, let's say of 20 million for somebody, and then another club comes in for that same player and offers 22 million, I should get a notification to be told that the deal's off unless I match that offer. The same should happen with wages. Why, when a player, especially free transfers, why would a player just jump at one club trying to sign them? There should be a back and forth, like a competition. If I'm managing Bournemouth and I'm trying to sign a player and then Real Madrid come in for them, I shouldn't be able to sign that player, or it should be really difficult, because yeah, there should be that element of competition in the game. As frustrating as that could be, I think that should be a part of things. And as you can see here in the concept, he's got his realistic wage. There's no way that Nkunku's wage in FC is anywhere near 200 grand a week, but that's what it is in real life, which again, that would impact signing him and the transfer fee. That would probably lower his transfer fee because a club would be getting high wages off the bill. So again, there's more elements. You can see his stats. You can also see how interested he is. So again, why can't you just inquire for a player, see how interested they are, which will help you with negotiating the wage. Another feature that we had in past FIFAs that has just been removed from the game is before you've even put a transfer offer in for a player, you can inquire to the club and ask how much they would value him at, and then you'd go appropriately with that. It's frustrating when you've not scouted a player and you just chuck in a transfer offer and they storm out the office straight away, and then you have to wait to renegotiate. Why can't you just say how much do you want roughly? They give you an idea and then you can go from there, just to know a ballpark. Okay, now here's some concepts about how they could make transfers, contracts, loans more in depth in terms of making offers. Let's start with transfers. Transfers in general are, pretty standard. There's not really too much they can add, but I've got a few options here that would be beneficial. You can add like performance-based add-ons. So if you're a club that's just gotten promoted, for example, to the Premier League, maybe you could say to the selling club, look, we'll pay you an extra $1 million or $2 million if we survive the Premier League, or if this player scores X amount of goals, we'll send you this money. In addition to that, a buyback option would be nice if you're selling a young player that he's just not getting in the team, but he might turn out to be really good. Again, why can't you just put in a buyback clause into the contract? And then it's down to the club then to agree that if they're okay with it. And also an option to loan the player back to the selling club. So what I mean by this is, if you're like a big club, for example, and you buy a young promising player off of a lower club, for example, and they're not going to get into your team straight away, you plan to loan them out. Sometimes it's a pain to loan players out in the game, so why can't you just say to the club you're buying them off, look, I'll loan you the player back for the rest of the season if you want, or for 1 year or whatever it is. Why can't you do that in the game? And again, that would probably help with negotiating. Teams would be more likely to let you have the player if you was able to do that. Again, like a small thing, but why not? And another thing that I didn't even mention at the start is how you should be able to put your offer together all in one go, instead of step by step going through every single term and agreeing things. Why can't we do it like this? This would give us more flexibility in the market. For example, and I'll get onto contracts, it's frustrating when you want to sign a player to like a 1 year deal and they just refuse and say, I want to sign a 2 year deal. Why can't I put together a full offer and maybe increase the wage, but keep the 1 year, and then make them sign it like that? Why isn't there more flexibility to get the terms that you want, instead of doing it step by step, which I think is just really restrictive? But next up, we're going to talk about loan offers. Now, currently, there's not much in it with loans, and I feel like that needs to change. So as you can see, we've got Jadon Sancho, who will probably be loaned out in real life. That's why I used him as an example. We can see his contract. Now, when you put in a loan, you can't do an emergency loan, which is 3 months, which would be a nice feature just in general. Also, loan fees. Why isn't this in the game? Usually with at least high profile loans like this, there's always a fee involved. It's a small one. I'm trying to think, I think it's usually between 5 to 10% of the player's value each season. That's roughly what a loan fee is generally. I don't know if it's the same for those young academy players that aren't going to get into the starting 11, but there needs to be some sort of loan fee involved, in my opinion, because it's so easy just to get a loan and then just it's like it doesn't cost you whatsoever. But if you're loaning like a good player in, that's usually the case. And it also means that those players that may be on loan listed that you want to sign, maybe you could actually get them on loan, but you just have to offer a better fee for them. So again, it just adds more flexibility in the market. Hypothetically, if you're a club and you want to sign Mbappe on loan and you offer, I don't know, you wouldn't do this, but offer 150 million for 1 year loan, Real Madrid would accept that, probably, I don't know. But you know what I mean? It would just give you a bit more flexibility on offering different deals to players. So as you can see now, we've got like the wage split, which, you know, is already in the game. An option to buy. I've also put it here, an obligation to buy. So with this, let's say a player hits a certain amount of appearances, or often what happens is if your club gets promoted or survives relegation or gets into Europe or something, it becomes like an obligation to sign that player, even if they score a certain amount of goals or something, I don't know. But that would be another cool feature in the game as well, like an obligation to buy. Now, also a recall option, which kind of tackles an issue with the game currently, is that teams can just recall players and it's like nothing. But there should be a fee involved if you recall a player, especially for the CPU, but I don't think you get any money if a CPU recalls a player off you. But that should be something that you agree. If you agree on a 1 year loan without a recall, that club shouldn't be able to recall the player in January. Usually, if there's a recall option, it means that you, as the club loaning the player in, get better terms, because this is something that benefits the original club. So yeah, just a few more options would be nice, just to, again, build that depth in the game mode. And finally, we got a contract offer. So this will apply for players that are signing from another club or just within the club if you want to hand a new contract out to players. So as you can see here, Leeds need a goalkeeper, so I put Kelleher, no problem here. And you can see, yeah, you can offer him a contract length. Again, I feel like you should be able to offer like a 6-month contract or like 6-7 years. Ask Chelsea about that, but that's not an option in the game, so that would be nice. You got his wage, his signing fee, his squad role, all the same as usual. But again, you should be able to agree this all in one go. You've got his release clause. You've also got a release clause in the event of something happening. So if you're a lower team in your league, maybe a player of good quality joining is worried that you're going to get relegated. So you can give them an assurance that if we get relegated, you're going to get a lower release clause to leave the club. Again, that's something that's really common in real life, especially in the Premier League. And you even hear cases of like, if a Champions League club comes in for a player, then there's like a release clause set as well. So again, a few more options. A performance bonus. So if that player achieves a certain amount of appearances or goals, or the club achieves something, they'll get like a nice bonus for it. Again, something that's just common in general. A lot of players get big bonuses and wage increases for getting promoted into leagues to match the league that they're going into. So again, that shows in this here. If Kelleher and Leeds survive relegation, he'll get a 15% increase to his salary the next year. Again, a few things that could entice players to join the club, and it just adds a bit more depth to the whole game mode. So yeah, that's all the concepts I've got regarding transfers, but a few more things that could be added just off the top of my head. When it comes to releasing players, that should be something that you negotiate. Rather than just paying them out their contract, you might be able to reach an agreement to release them for less because they can then go to another club, for example. When it comes to players that in real life are earning more money than what they should be, again, that should reflect in the game, so it should be harder to get players off the books. And just in general, I think there needs to be more talk around budgets and an actual like economy in the game. So clubs should have to go by a certain budget, wages, how much they spend should be more realistic. So if you're overpaying all your players, that should really impact your ability to make transfers and invest further in the squad. And you know, things like FFP and PSR, why not add these into the game? I mean, we're talking really in depth now, but I certainly think it needs to be harder to manage a budget. You should be given a wage budget, and rather than increasing year after year, it should just be something that you stick with unless you advance your club even further. So again, getting those big wages off the books could be a challenge, but something that would be really rewarding. And getting those unknown players on smaller wages could, again, give you that feel of achievement in the game. So something I didn't mention as well, I will go to my squad hub concept that, again, I've put on X already. But there's a few things here that goes around transfers as well. So you should be able to set an asking price for a player to increase how many offers you get or decrease them. So if you're constantly getting £10 million offers for a player that you value more, to decrease the offers without blocking them, you could say, look, I want 20 million for this player, and the teams that want to pay it will offer you the money. If not, they won't. On the flip side, you have a £10 million player that just does not fit your system and you want to get rid of them. You can put them up for 6-7 million, and more teams will be interested because they get in a good deal. So again, that should be something you can do in the game. You should also be able to transfer and loan list players at the same time. Again, just a really simple one. I've also got as well, like, just more cutscenes. A few cutscenes is light work for a company like EA. Like when it comes to transfer announcements, they've just gotten a bit stale at the moment. So just have like a few like the nice creative ones that you get in real life. These transfer announcements with all the flashing lights, and you know, they're in the dressing room, maybe they're in the at the training ground holding it up. Or for example, like with the Spanish clubs, if they make a big signing, they're there at the stadium doing like keepy-uppies. They could add more cutscenes in, which wouldn't hurt the game at all either. Another simple one, but more search filters. Why can't you search in the search engine the height of a player, the contract length, what foot they use? Again, it's just like, sometimes it is just like the simple things with this game that we need. Another thing that I want to see is remove clubs refusing to sell players. Have you ever got that where you've tried to buy a player and it just says the club completely refuses because they're too important to the team? That's absolute nonsense. I don't care. Unless it's prime Messi at Barcelona, this just does not happen in real life. If I'm trying to sign Mohamed Salah from Liverpool, he's obviously extremely important to the team. And maybe they might, again, it might be really difficult for them to sell them. But if I offer, hypothetically, of course, 200 million for him, they're going to accept the offer. You know what I mean? It should just be harder to sign these kind of players. I think this feature is just a bit broken, in my opinion, especially when it's players who play for lower teams. Every team has a price for a player. And again, I feel like that should be in the game. Another thing, request funds like in previous games. I mean, why? Why was this removed? Why can't we just promise a better performance from the team and you get like a little bit more money to help within the summer or January? Again, pretty simple, but it should be a thing. AI clubs going into debt and getting financial takeovers, again, would be a nice little feature. Club budgets need to be more realistic, like I said, but yeah, this is something else that could happen in the game, and that would add more storyline, seeing clubs have rapid falls down the leagues or rapid rises, so that'd be cool as well. I've got here as well, real life free agents. So at the start of the game, if there's some really good free agents out there, they won't be included. Now I understand it's a licensing thing, but even if you just add them in as generic players, we'll know who they're based on. Again, like, not that important, but something I thought I'd mention. Okay, then I've got negotiate squad roles with loan players. So again, just agree with them. You're going to be a squad player or you're going to be a crucial player. Again, that should be something that is involved. It might stop AI clubs from getting wound up that you're not playing the players as much, because if you agree that they're just going to be a squad player, then they should just shrug their shoulders and say, okay, well, that's fine. Also, on the flip side, you should be able to track how well your loan players are doing and threaten to recall them if they don't play more. Why is it one way and not the other? AI clubs transfer and loan listing players more often. Again, like with loan listing, there are players that aren't loan listed, but if you put a loan offer for, they'll be accepted. So why not just have them loan listed, and then it's just easier to search and filter them out of the database. Again, it's just like a simple thing like that. And yeah, I'll breathe out now because that's a lot of information. I'm pretty sure that's everything that I need to cover regarding transfers. It's a big section of my FC26 wishlist, so yeah, it might make my next few videos shorter, but let me know in the comments what you think of the video, what you think of these potential new features. Drop me a like if you're here till the end and you enjoyed the video. I really appreciate it. And of course, subscribe, check out all my other videos. I appreciate you watching this one, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.